Hi, my name is Rachel Brangard, and this is for my conflicts resolution class. What is conflict? Uh, um, what is conflict? Conflict to me is when two or more people have an issue about something and it has to be worked through because the people involved need something from each other. For example, take two business partners. Each own half of the business. The one business partner starts drinking immensely and making careless mistakes at work because of being so hungover. His business partner confronts him and he gets moody about the whole thing and screaming and yelling and hostile. Um, this to me would be conflict because both own the company, so in order for the business to run smoothly, they both need each other to be able to communicate peacefully and not make careless mistakes. Um, if the conflict were to get resolved, the partner continues with the defensiveness and yelling and screaming and not listening to his partner, they might end up having to choose to close shop. And that wouldn't be good. Um, and that, in my own words, is a summary of what I wrote for my assignment. Um, Now, as for the four communication paradigms, the first paradigm is the encoding and decoding paradigm. It's the most straightforward conceptualization of communication that can be found in the encoder-decoder paradigm, in which communication is described as transferring information via codes, such take the Morse code. Dot 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 would be H. It only means H. There's no other meaning for it. And that's how it's so straightforward. The second paradigm, the intentionalist paradigm, is in human communication, the same message can be understood to mean different things in different circumstances, and this fact necessitates a distinction between a message's literal meaning and its intended meaning. All in all, the intentionalist paradigm is sharing how one can misconstrue someone else's communicative intentions. The third paradigm is the perspective taking paradigm. Perspective taking assumes that individuals perceive the world differing advantages points, and that because the experiences of each individual depend to some degree on his or her vantage points. Another thing this paradigm talks about is what kind of language is being used. There are many ways a person can describe a situation. One person can take the wording one way while another can take it totally in another direction. Lastly, the fourth paradigm, which is the dialogic paradigm. This specific paradigm focuses on communication between being regarded as a joint accomplishment of the participants who have come together to achieve some set of communicative goals. What this is indicating is that generally the participants will talk, and before moving on to another area, make sure that the other person is understanding what was said. In most cases, this can be done with just a head nod, um, saying, yeah, okay, I get it, or um, change of the facial expressions, etc. The four, now onto the four horsemen. The first in the four horsemen is the critical startup, which sets the tone for any conflict. The way you start up in the critical startup, it will determine whether the conflict would turn out constructive or deconstructive, destructive. The first moments of a conflict interaction, the critical startup, can set the scene for a constructive or destructive conflict. For instance, if a conflict starts off with a critical statement, it can escalate very quickly. If you say you always or you never, it usually more so means that it's going to be a destructive conflict. The second is defensiveness. When people use defensiveness communication, they are communicating a desire to protect themselves against pain, fear, personal responsibility, or new information. Now, when defensiveness predominates, there are many destructive outcomes that can occur, like lack of fun and joy, power struggles, boredom, emotional pain and distance, chronic fighting, and even desire to retaliate. If a person can listen about oneself and the other during an emotionally changed issue, the defensiveness will drop away. The third of the four horsemen is stonewalling or withdrawing from interaction. This is just where the person is pretty much frozen in place, no response, kind of just staring off in space. Make it pretty well known that even though they're there, they're not there. Um, the last is contempt, which is the last thing that contributes to a destructive conflict. Contempt is any statement or nonverbal behavior that puts oneself on a higher plane than one's partner. Contempt often involves a nasty kind of mockery, put downs, hostile corrections, and nonverbal expressions of contempt. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you.